welcome back.
Welcome back to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast where only two sports lovers sit and give their hot takes
Off
the dome. I was late on that one. That's on me. I am Redfish.
You did the head nod and everything. I'm Rebo Hustle.
And we are steering the ship today without Mustang. He's, doing work stuff. Happens. We've been gone for a long time, but glad to be back. Hopefully we can, steer this thing the right way and not get too rusty along the way. Keep Off the Dome rolling. Had some technical difficulties, but looks like we should be back in command going once a week from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, we're running on a smaller computer now, so maybe might have some technical difficulties, so just bear with us. But, yeah, we should be at least taking the right steps forward.
Hey, nothing better than the first comment being from a dangerous dut,
Ooh.
I mean, we are some jabronis, I will be honest, but we are jabronis who love sports. And what better way to start off this Off the Dome Sports Podcast than to talk about the Louisiana State University Football Tigers.
Fighting Football Tigers?
The Fighting Football Tigers, indeed. We were lucky enough to watch both games, LSU and Saints, together this weekend, so I know we got to see the same stuff. Let's start off talking about LSU. I'm repping us today. Got that baseball national championship shirt on. Yet to be seen if we'll earn a football one this year, but based off what you saw this weekend, Mississippi State won 41-14. What'd you see in that game?
I mean, it proved that Mississippi State is inferior, and that's what everybody was wondering. I do think that at least we got to see that there's not a curse to wide receiver ones at LSU after Kayshon Boutte had a terrible season last year. But it's definitely steps in the right direction. You're seeing great things out of freshmen. We got a freshman starter for the first time all year in Wes Weeks. Yeah. I mean, it was SEC football, and that's what we needed to see.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were waiting for this game to prove, are we the team of the second half of Florida State, or are we the team that beat the pants off of Grambling? Because those weren't the same team. I know very different opponents. Florida State's the number 4 team in the country right now, and Grambling is Grambling. But obviously some things weren't clicking week one. We kind of faced that middle ground opponent. We faced the top of the top. We faced the bottom. So middle ground is where we found Mississippi State. And I think what we were waiting for is to prove, which side of the coin are we going to flip on. And for me, I was really, really impressed with the offense. Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors had a great game connecting with each other. Malik Neighbors had, I think, over 250 receiving yards. Jaden Daniels started the game 13 for 13 before throwing his first incompletion. So we definitely proved that our offense can move the ball and our offense can score. Holding a Mississippi State offense that is known for scoring points, I know the system's changed a little bit due to some stuff that happened. With Mike Leach passing away, unfortunately, and getting a new offensive coordinator and such, of course that offense is going to change. But holding Will Rogers to what he did, and then holding back a wide receiver and a running back that have been dominating in SEC play, can't complain about it.
I think the first 4 drives, we held them to a total of 9 yards. But I think that the Mississippi State game, last year and this year, has been the, are you real game? Whereas this week, we're looking at Arkansas, and that's the prove it game. Like, are you going to be what you were last year and contend for the SEC West title, or are you just going to be a middle-of-the-pack SEC West kind of team?
Yeah, because we could fall on both sides, and it wouldn't be surprising after what we've seen through 3 weeks. Because, I mean, after Florida State, a lot of people were scared. Like, what is happening? Because we came into the season like contenders.
But I was less scared this year than I was last year when
let's talk about that
horrendous bet in all of Louisiana sports history.
I remember weekly talking about that bet every week on the pod. I would be like, "Yeah, Reese is dumb." If you don't, for those who may not have seen it or not been watching back then, last season Rebo Hustle put a bet under 7.5 wins for the LSU football Tigers
after the Florida State game because it looked so bad.
Mm-hmm. After the Florida State game, under 7.5 total wins in the season. We ended up winning 10 games in the SEC West. And every week he would try to justify his bet and be like, "Yeah, I know we beat this team and this team, but look who we have coming up, and
no,
then we just keep winning
like
and winning.
That.
Yes, it
wasn't
was.
like that.
You didn't change your tune until Ole Miss.
Yeah.
After Tennessee, because Tennessee and Ole Miss were pretty close together, if I remember.
They were back to back. Yes, I didn't change my tune until the Ole Miss game. Yeah.
And then once we beat Ole Miss,
that was
you were
the turning
like, "That's
point
fair."
in the season.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like every week you'd be like, "I don't know," and then we finally hit that point where you're like, "Okay, we're real."
Yeah.
So good point about Arkansas. I think that is definitely this Arkansas game is going to be the game where it's like, are we going to be like the Texas A&M team that always goes 7-5, 8-4, and that's just kind of where we're sitting, or are we going to be the game in Tuscaloosa this year decides who wins the SEC West?
Yeah, like the game this week in Tuscaloosa is Ole Miss, Bama, and they're ranked close together.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing like, are they on the same tier, and LSU's going to be trailing because they either barely put up a fight against Arkansas or got blown out by Arkansas, God forbid. But I think if this game goes to plan, we can definitely see next week when we play Ole Miss, there'll be more hype going into that week. That's for sure.
Yeah. This Arkansas game really, I mean, every week holds weight in college football because at this point in college football, if you don't go undefeated if you have 2 losses, you're not making the playoffs. So every single week, especially when you're a 1-loss team, it means everything to your football team. That being said, we are opening as heavy favorites against Arkansas. So as far as like bet makers go and national media goes, they're definitely expecting a win from the Tigers. What do you think is like the keys to us making sure we pull out a win against the Razorbacks?
Did we say that it was 14.5?
We didn't give a number.
I know, but
no.
like
I think it was 14.
We looked at it and it was 14.5. Yeah, so I mean 14.5 is a lot, but I think just keys to victory is going to be containing KJ. I mean, and we'll see Harold Perkins shine like he did against Bama. I believe he's going to be the spy of the week. There's still some question marks on the defensive side. They looked great against Mississippi State, but we also have the medical emergency with Greg Brooks, which he was the heartbeat of that defense. And so I feel like if we have the guys step up on defense, the offense is going to carry. Like the offense is just going to do what they do every week. It's not like they're going to be electric every week, but they're going to get you yards. They're going to get you into winning positions. It's just does the defense step up.
Yeah, I agree. I think the offense is, for me, a guarantee to score you 27 to 30 points.
I don't think the Razorbacks defense is that good.
No,
year.
Not that I know of. I mean, they let BYU drop 38 on them. So, I mean, I don't think that offensively we'll have too much of a challenge. I think we'll put up the points you need to win a college football game. I do think the question mark is the defense, like you said. I don't think we've seen a consistency yet out of our defense that I'd like to see. Every week it feels like somebody new is shining, and while that's good for that somebody new, it's not great for everybody else who's falling behind. The front four need to make sure they put on constant pressure. I think we're getting better at that every week, so hopefully that continues. We know Makai Wingo can do his thing. We know Mason Smith is a ginormous human who's very athletic for his size. We know Harold. I'm still hoping that we can do something effective within the secondary. Denver Harris, Andre Sam, the people filling in for Greg Brooks, whoever it is.
Yeah, I believe Brian Kelly said in his interviews this week that it's going to be a committee to fill in Greg Brooks, but he was very impressed with one of the freshmen. I don't remember his name, though. And so, I mean, the more times you can get a freshman on the field, the more experience you're invested into a guy. I love to see it. I mean, we were talking before the game that there was no starting freshman on the entire team.
Yeah. And LSU's kind of always been that team that has, like, one really big freshman who everybody's like, oh, yeah, in 2 years, he's going to go top 10. We've had it almost every year, and it's kind of worked out every year. I mean, back when Tyrann was a freshman, he went crazy. And mostly DBs, really. Tyrann did it. Grant Delpit was great for multiple years. Patrick Peterson was always good. I mean, and then even on the defensive line, we'd have a couple guys who would always cement themselves, like Barkevius Mingo, Arden Key, who some people work out in the NFL, some don't.
Hey, Arden Key looked like elite against the Saints.
He
that
did,
was for sure.
And we're going to talk about the Saints in just a minute. But before we move on from LSU, Let's give our final thoughts on the Razorback games, give a score prediction, and then we'll go ahead and move on. I'll give you a second to think because I saw that face you just made. But for me, the keys of the game really are consistency on the defense. You don't have to be perfect, but at least be consistent. Get them to third and long situations. Don't beat yourself with penalties. And then my biggest question is, if he plays, can we contain Raheem Sanders? Raheem Sanders, a lot of people don't know him, but I think he's one of the best backs in college football. Last year, he put up like 1,400 yards and over 10 touchdowns. I mean, he had a fantastic year, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. He wasn't healthy against BYU. However, if he plays this week, I think that's our number one. If we contain Raheem Sanders, I'll feel good about it. Final score prediction, I'm going to take LSU to score 33 points and Arkansas to score 21 points.
That's awfully funny because I have nothing to back up my statement. But I was going to say 24-31 LSU because I feel like we're bound to give up a big play or two or three. Mm-hmm. So that's the 3 touchdowns. And I think that the offense is going to just go out there and compete. We've seen great things out of the offensive line. I'm not worried about is the pocket going to be clean anymore. I mean, unless you're going against a guy who's a definite top pick in the draft, like what's his name, Curse for Florida State.
Oh, Jared Verse.
Yeah. And so as long as we can avoid guys like that, I think that our offensive line's going to hold up, give Jaden time. We'll see Malik Neighbors highlighted some more, and our guy BT Cruiser.
Gotta love BT Cruiser, Brian Thomas.
And I do believe Mason Taylor is supposed to play this week. He sat out last week, and so that's another wrinkle because we didn't see much out of the freshman tight end last week. So I'm excited for this week. Yep. It's a prove-it game. It's going to definitely going to show us if we're going to be contenders this year or if we're just going to be middle in the pack.
Yeah, if we have the run game that we did against Grambling and the pass game that we did last week, it hopefully won't be an issue. I mean, combine both of those and you've got a really, really solid offense. Speaking about offense, not the strong suit of the Saints game last night. Luckily, our defense held it up for us, and we ended up getting the win last night. Shout out to the New Orleans Saints. 2-0 on the season, just like the rest of the NFC South, except for the Panthers, who are 0-2. So we've got winners and winless. But, yep, ended up pulling out the win last night, 20-17. We watched that game. What was your thoughts on how we moved the ball and then how we stopped the ball as well?
Yeah, it was different than week one. Week one, we saw a lot of turnovers caused by the defense. This week, we just saw dominance, basically. We got pressure up the middle. We got pressure from the outsides. We forced Bryce Young to just throw the ball away a lot. Also, Marshawn Lattimore is proving that he's the best cornerback in football.
Did you see how many yards he's allowed on the season?
Yeah. It was like
15.
And last night it was 6. And he only got targeted once.
I mean, Marshawn was a guy who was injured most of last year. He comes back in his first game and gets a pick 6. And everybody kind of, forgot about him in that time frame because it's like, well, he's not playing. We forget about Marshawn. And then he also, let's be honest with ourselves, he won Rookie of the Year and then had a couple down years. I mean, based on that Rookie of the Year performance. Yeah. Not that he was bad.
And he missed some time in those years too. And
yeah.
So, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So he's finally getting time to reestablish himself, and he's healthy, and he is proving that, hey, I deserve every single cent I've ever gotten paid. So I absolutely love Marshawn. And then one thing that won't show up on the stat sheet that we've got to mention because Rebo Hustle is his biggest fan, Brian Brzee did have a strip sack last night.
Got called back.
But unfortunately got called back due to penalty. Thank you, Paulson Adebo. He had like 3 penalties last night that kind of messed us up. But, our D-line, man. Our D-line is top-notch right now.
What's the other guy's name? Nathan Shepard?
Nathan Shepard had a great game as well.
Great game. Every time, I think him and Brzee were on a rotation, and so it didn't fall off in the rush game, in the pass rush, and you're expecting Nathan Shepard to come into the year and just be a run stopper, and I was honestly impressed that we got so much penetration. But pivoting from the defense, which is what we expect from the Saints, the offense.
Yeah.
We are clearly struggling without Alvin Kamara. We're clearly struggling to call plays. And to top it all off, Jamal Williams going down last night was not fun.
Yeah, did you see what Dennis Allen said? So Dennis Allen said today that Jamal Williams is dealing with a hamstring and, quote, it is going to take some time, unquote. So I don't know what that means as far as Jamal Williams' availability. Sounds like he won't be playing next week if you take that for face value. Kendre Miller has yet to play a snap in the NFL due to his health as well. So right now we have one healthy running back on our roster, and it's Tony Jones Jr., who ran for 2 touchdowns last night.
So word around town is Kendre's going to be playing. He sat out the whole first week, and then this past week he was limited in practice. So that seemed like a ramp up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd expect Kendre to get a line share, but I do expect it to be committee with Tony Jones Jr.
Yeah.
Which he had 2 touchdowns. He didn't look great other than that, but he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Most of our run game came from Taysom Hill. I think he ran for over 70 yards, which, I mean, he was running quarterback powers and just running up the gut, and he was getting 8 to 9 yards every time. For me, that was another interesting thing that we saw from our offense. You mentioned the play calling. You're running plays that work with Taysom Hill, and almost every time you do it, it works, and then you get to a point where you need those yards, and then you don't do that. To me, I found that kind of frustrating, that, you know, if something's working, keep doing it until it doesn't. That's the way I feel about it. Like, if you would have been running screen passes all day and we would be getting 8 to 9 yards on screen passes, keep running screen passes until there's the one time it doesn't work. And then you're like, okay, they figured it out. Let's pivot, and then we'll rework it later in the game. For me, it feels like they just let the ball roll on Taysom, and we were having 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s that we couldn't convert because we were handing it off to Tony Jones Jr. rather than Taysom Hill.
You were clearly watching much more intently than I was. Because I don't remember us. I mean, I knew we punted a lot, but I don't remember why. But I do agree, like, the Taysom package was working, especially against the Panthers. Like, I think he had 2 completions as well.
Yeah.
And so why not run with it, especially when you need the yards? But one thing I am impressed by is Juwan Johnson isn't the tight end 1, it's Foster Moreau. He's got the most receptions from that position so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, last night he had like 3 in the first 2 quarters or something. Like, he was getting out there.
Yeah, I mean, and we love to see Louisiana talent. Guy born and raised in Metairie, went to LSU. And after his struggles with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah, that's the right one.
Yeah.
And so it's just exciting to see him back at it, you know?
Yeah, super impressed. I'm very happy for Foster to get his chance. And he does some work in the block game. I mean, he's not great, but he does some work in it as well.
He's definitely serviceable as a blocker. I mean, definitely better than Juwan Johnson, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Juwan Johnson was a wide receiver who needed to change to a tight end. Yeah. So we've gotten... I love our tight end room. I think that's a strength of this team. The running back room looked like a strength of this team before week 1, and now we're slowly dwindling down. I saw the question on X last night. You don't have X, so you wouldn't know.
You know.
But would you be interested in signing a free agent running back? Someone, not necessarily like some rando, someone like Kareem Hunt or Leonard Fournette. Would you bring them in just to help serve this week with Jamal Williams out, and we don't know how long he's going to be out? Alvin Kamara still has a week left. Are you going to bring in Kendre against the Packers, which we'll talk about that matchup in just a minute here, but would you bring in a free agent running back like a Leonard Fournette, like a Kareem Hunt, to go ahead and serve us for a week or 2 while we're waiting on health?
That's tough because, I mean, when you first said it, I was like, oh, yeah, Leonard and Kamara would be a great combo. But then I was like, but why do we sign Jamal? So, I mean, I wouldn't... if we're thinking about the next 2 weeks, you definitely go out and get Leonard because he's the power back.
Yeah.
Definitely taking him over Kareem in that situation because the running backs you have are finesse backs.
Right.
But does Leonard want to take a small contract? I don't know. I think that's the whole reason he hadn't been signed. And we're looking at Kareem Hunt that's already talking to the Browns again.
Well, prayers up to Nick Chubb.
That was disgusting.
If you watched that Browns versus Steelers game last night, you saw the injury. And if you didn't, try not to look at it. Just an absolutely terrible-looking injury. He had a very similar injury back in college, and obviously it didn't hinder him long-term because he's played really well in the NFL. But now that he's 8 years past that injury and he's a veteran in the NFL, somebody who's known for being tough, that's just so hard to see. Definitely a season ender. Kevin Stefanski said that last night. Your knee doesn't look the way his did, and then you come back from it that year.
No, it was 90 degrees forward. There's no shot.
Yeah, so he'll be out for the year. So they already talked to Kareem Hunt about coming back. He was in the building today. No word on if he officially signed yet or not. But they've got Jerome Ford in that backfield and Pierre Strong, so I'm sure they'll make a move as well.
I do feel like it's one of those situations that, like, you never hear about somebody's going to visit and then they're going to sign until they do it, And so that's why I'm not bullish on Kareem Hunt's getting signed this week. And because, like, we sat there and talked about, the Pelicans are looking into X player when it comes to trade deadline, and those never happened because that
happened with like 4 different players last year, and we ended up trading away Devontae Graham for.
Don't say it. Josh Richardson.
Yeah. All right.
But
not
yeah,
Pels. Not Pels talk.
I know, but the same thing with NFL media and NBA media. It's just like the rumors you're gonna hear aren't true because they haven't happened.
Right. Rumors are just rumors until they're reality.
Yeah, and I've never heard of anybody being like, it's rumored that the New England Patriots are gonna sign Zeke. Because it just happened.
There was rumors about Dalvin Cook going to Miami. There was rumors about Dalvin Cook going to New England, and then he signs with New York. I mean, like, rumors are just rumors until they're reality in the NFL. But the reality of the NFL right now is the Saints are 2-0. We're going to play the Packers next week, and we're going to talk about, what that game looks like from a betting perspective in a little bit.
I agree, Dud. Hunt makes sense because he knows the offense, but I'm still standing on my rumors until they actually happen because I've never heard of a rumor that happened.
I mean, that's fair. I think they'll definitely do something at the running back room. I don't know what it is yet, but the Browns will do something. As for the Saints, we're not sure. They do have this matchup with the Packers in Week 3 Sunday. The Packers are 1-1. Almost 2-0, though. I mean, they lost on a heartbreaker to the Falcons this past week. Jordan Love has looked a lot better than some people have thought. So, we'll see what we get from the Packers, but what are we looking forward to?
It's going to be a defensive battle as usual. But I do think that Green Bay has a little more holes than several of the defense we faced. Both of the defenses we faced so far this year. I mean, they have Zaire Alexander, but I don't think I can name another person on that defense.
They've got
because everybody left.
Quay Walker. They've got
they've got a second-year player.
Darnell Savage, maybe, still on that team.
But like that's what I'm saying. I think the
Rashawn Gary, very good player on that team.
But I do think the offense is gonna start making steps in the right direction this week.
I just thought about it for Rashawn Gary's lined up against Trevor Penning.
Oh, don't think about that one. Hey, he looked good at the end of the game. We talked about it.
Fun fact. I saw this on Twitter today. There has been 4 tackles in the NFL who have yet to been called for a penalty. Trevor Penning is one of them.
Yeah, because you can't be called for a penalty if you're turned around looking at the quarterback.
Yeah, that's my biggest question for this Packers game. Is the O-line going to take the step we need them to? Because Derek Carr, while he hasn't been perfect, there has been many times where we've been like, come on, he's better than Andy Dalton. and he's better than Jameis Winston. Like, everybody needs to accept that. I know we like to have problems, but it's because we had Drew Brees for 15 years. So we were spoiled.
Oh, yeah.
But what we need to do is we need to look and be like, Derek Carr is a serviceable quarterback. He can win you games. He's not going to be the reason. He might not be the reason you win, but he's not going to be the reason you lose, in my opinion. And then when you add in Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, who are both top 20 in receiving yards so far this season.
And Mike Thomas, who's been an incredible first-half player.
Michael Thomas has been fantastic as far as within 7 yards, getting us some tough yards. I mean, yeah, exactly. They need time to build chemistry. Derek Carr played in the same place for the first 9 years of his career. He's in a new place with new faces he's never seen before. It's going to take some time. And I know, you have training camp and you have preseason. So you have a little bit of time, but it's not enough time to really build everything you need, especially when you get to game speed. Chris Olave is a fantastic player. He's one of the best young, if not one of the best just in general wide receivers in the NFL. Rashid Shaheed is absolutely electric every time he has the football in his hands. And then Michael Thomas is very reliable. So my question is, do the playmakers finally make plays? That's my question for this Packers game.
Yeah, and like you said, me being the offensive line guy, it's going to be the Rashawn Gary versus Trevor Penning is the key of the game. I mean, I know he's not going to line up over Trevor every snap, but if I was the defensive coordinator, I sure would be highlighting that on film and making sure that everybody knows that these are the ways you can beat him. These are the ways that he's looked good. He's definitely the biggest question mark, but he definitely won the job outright. Pushed Hurston to the inside, and so I think there's a reason that we went with him. He's just crumbling under the pressure right now, but there's a reason we drafted him in 20s or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think we got him at 16, and then in the 2022 draft, because we picked him and Olave right near each other, but. He's definitely a talented player. You can't say he's not talented. He has the talent he needs.
He looks great in run.
He's a great run blocker. He plays hard. You have no question that he loves the game of football because he loves to play, and you can tell. The question is he ready? He doesn't look ready all the time. He'll one snap he'll look great, and then the next 5 he'll look terrible. But also you got to remember he didn't really play last year. Played a couple games, so. This is almost it's basically his rookie season.
Oh, yeah, I agree. There's a difference between practicing and playing. And so you can practice and be with the ones the whole year, the whole off season, all of this, and then once you step on the field that night, it's a completely different game. You can prep all you want. You can face your own teammate who's trying to act like the defense the whole off season, but once you actually step up and get under the pressure of, I really need to make this play in order to keep the quarterback upright, it's a completely different animal. And so I think that Trevor's having a hard time doing that, but I do see bright spots, like on the Chris Olave crazy catch. I'm sitting here going, oh my God, Trevor Penning made an incredible play. And Bryce is like, dude, what are you talking about? He just bobbled the ball and made the catch. Like, this is a Chris Olave highlight. I said, no, this is a Trevor Penning highlight.
Reese is a huge O-line guy. The breakdowns that he gives on O-line, just in general, like, he'll be watching a game and he'll be like, that dude just slid and it cost them the play. And I'm like, how do you see that? Reese really does have a great mind for watching both offensive and defensive line because he played O-line in high school. And, I know you're thinking, oh, he was a high school football player. But no, like, he really is smart.
I was more cerebral than I was physical. I'm not the big guy.
Yeah, but no, like, he's got the brain for it. And last night, we were going over, like, our pre-draft, like, who we thought was going to be good and bad on the O-line. And Reese was talking about all the guys he thought was going to be bad and then looking up videos of them and be like, yeah, I pretty much told you so. Or looking up the guys he thought was going to be good. And he was like, yeah, I told you so.
We talked about Antoine Harrison, and they had the highlights from preseason. And he looks good. And like I said, that his film spoke better than what like I always look at the wave drill because that's how I know that they can stay back and stay off of their heels. And he didn't look very great in that, but the film said that he was great. And so I was like, this guy is literally a 50-50, and he's just looking incredible. He's a starting left tackle. Right tackle for the Jags this year. There's not been any headlines about him, which perfect for an offensive lineman.
Yeah, if your name's not getting mentioned, you're probably doing pretty good.
Yeah, and then Steve Avila is starting at left guard for the Rams. And I haven't heard anything about him, but the film I've watched is bad from the preseason. And that's the guy that I was like, there's a guard. It's not him.
But yeah, that was a super fun game to watch with Reese last night, watching the Panthers game. It wasn't a fun game to watch from a football perspective. It's a fun game to watch because of the company.
But yeah, we sat there and we're like, I will take a Panthers touchdown right now just to see a touchdown.
Yeah, because we were just tired of watching field goals after field goals, and we also, we'll talk about what else we liked from the Panthers last night, and a little bit later. But Packers game, we're convinced that the defense is top 5 in the league. That's how I feel. I feel like we are a top 5 defense in the league. I think we can hold no team has scored more than 20 points on us, and I think they said the past 10 games going back to last season.
I think the Adam Thielen touchdown at the end of the game was the first touchdown.
First touchdown all season, yeah.
And we were like the last team to not give up a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, our defense is elite for sure. The question is, can that offense match the energy? I think with time we'll build chemistry. We'll get better, and hopefully when we get to mid-season form, we'll perform better offensively than we are now. That being said, we're still 2-0, and we're facing a Packers team that's going to give us a chance to go 3-0. So my keys of the win here are who steps up at running back, because I think that's really important. If Kendra plays, can he handle the workload of being the workhorse running back his first day in the NFL, basically? If he can handle that, I feel great. I know he brings something in the pass-catching game, which is something we've been missing from the running back position these first 2 weeks, and I think it's really important for this offense to really open it up, spread it downfield. That way Olave and Michael Thomas and Rashid can get some more chances. So if Kendra can open that up for us, can the left side of the line hold their end of the bargain as well? I think the right side's been great. Cesar Ruiz got paid. He's had a couple off plays we've seen, but that's going to happen on O-line. You're not going to be 100% perfect. He deserved the money he got. Ryan Ramczyk is still one of the best tackles in the league, in my opinion. And Eric McCoy is the definition of consistent. So if that left side can hold up their end of the bargain, if Kendre Miller can bring the dynamic field of play that we need, I feel good about this game. I'm going to go 23-13. Saints win.
Saints win. Yeah, it's honestly all about the left side of the offensive line. I think the defense is gonna hold them to field goals again. At most, I think the Packers score 13 because I'm not a Jordan Love guy.
Well, I'm not a Justin Fields fan either.
Yeah, I think 13 to, let's give us 24. That's a field goal.
He's one-upping me. Instead of the 23-13, he's going the 24-13.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get 3 touchdowns, Bryce.
We might
One may be defensive.
Oh, a defensive touchdown. That's the bold prediction for the Saints game.
That's the bold prediction of the week.
Bold prediction of the week is I like that.
It's a Pete Werner touchdown.
Oh, yeah, he could have had one last night if he didn't.
Yeah, from Brian Brzee, and it would have got called back anyway. So
yeah, you're right. My bold prediction is Chris Olave has. No, they have Jair Alexander. I was gonna say Chris Olave goes off, but my bold prediction is Derek Carr throws for 3 touchdowns.
No.
Yep.
I thought you were gonna go Kendre.
Nope. He's gonna throw for 3 touchdowns. Derek Carr's gonna figure it out. But let's go back to quintessential OTD. So
the OG OTD.
The OG OTD. So back when it was me and Mustang only, before we even started doing guests, and when we wrote out the script to every single episode, before we were truly off the dome, we would write every single little thing down, make sure we're all on the same page. Soundman would feature his little parlays here and there. We used to do something called B&B's Bets of the Week, but we're going to do the Rhythm and Blues Bets of the Week. The R&B, Rhythm and Blues. Here we are. We're going to do the bets of the week, and the way we're going to do this, we're going to do a 4-leg parlay, and it's going to be 2 spreads from the NFL, 2 spreads from college football. Because, obviously this is going to be our only episode of the week, so, we're going to cover what we're looking forward to this weekend in both college football and in the NFL. Not only focusing on the Saints or LSU, but trying to get some more teams in there just to, prove to you that we do have some knowledge of other people. So, Rebo Hustle, why don't you take us away and give us your 4-leg parlay for the R&B's bets of the week?
All right, so I'm going to start. I have 2 dogs and I don't even know what to call them. Favorites. Yeah, 2 dogs and 2 favorites. One from each level of football. The easiest dog of the week is Saints +2.
Yeah.
There's no way that the Packers can score enough points on the Saints defense to only win by 2. To win by 2.
I feel pretty good about that as well. Now, that being said, we are the Saints, so you never know.
Yeah, this is true. It's football. And then I'll stay in the NFL with my favorite. I got the Eagles -5.5 against the Bucks. Hard to say because the Bucks are 2-0 and the Eagles' offenses looked horrendous. But I think that it's hard to bet against the Eagles.
Yeah,
and the Bucks exist.
They do exist.
Somehow they are 2-0, and I think
they're gonna come down eventually.
Yeah, I think that the come down is gonna start now.
I mean, if you remember a few years ago, I think the Panthers started off 3-1 with Sam Darnold as their quarterback. So every team will come down to earth, or they'll remain the same. And I don't think the Buccaneers are one of those remain the same teams. I'm with you.
Oh yeah, and then to move down to the college ranks, my favorite is Florida State over Clemson -2.5. I really think Florida State is one of the best teams in college football this year. We talked about it all week.
Yeah.
Going into the LSU game, definitely after the LSU game. That's where we kind of like met in the middle, and we're like, hey, I'm okay with us losing this game because this is the same team we faced last year. They're a year better, and honest to God, I think that might win a national championship this year.
They definitely have everything they need to win a natty.
They're the only team that has chemistry as of week 4 enough to win the natty.
And what's crazy is they almost lost to Boston College this week. So they almost lost it all. However,
but it was the Boston College, the one game they get up for every year.
Yeah, exactly.
Red
And
bandana
not
game,
only that,
9/11.
but even 2019 national championship LSU, I mean, they had a couple games that were decided by 4 or less points. So it's not, and that was an Auburn team who wasn't great, where we almost lost to them. We let Ole Miss come back on us. I was at that game national championship year, and that's why I remember. John Rice Plumlee rushed for like 200 yards in the second half against us, and they almost came back and won that game too. So every good team is going to have a challenge at some point. I mean, even Georgia last year had a couple games where they almost lost. Ohio State kicks that field goal and makes it in that semifinal game, and Georgia doesn't even make the natty. So every national championship team has that challenge. I think this is where Florida State found their challenge early in the year. I like your pick over Clemson for sure.
And then my massive underdog.
Massive.
I've got Ole Miss +7 against Bama. I just think that Ole Miss is going to be in a lot of like dogfight-esque games this year. Their secondary hasn't looked amazing, but Bama gets Milroe back, and nobody's been impressed by Milroe's passing ability, but he's definitely a playmaker. And so I think it's going to be a tough game. I just thought that 7 points is a lot, and giving a lot to a Bama team that we still don't really know who they are.
Yeah, Bama does not have an identity for sure. I mean, 17-3 over USF, not impressive. Ole Miss, they were in a battle against Tulane 2 weeks ago, and then ended up pulling away in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, like I was saying, I think they're going to be in dogfights the whole year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every game's going to be competitive.
I like the +7 for sure. If it were a 50-50 and you have to pick your team, I'd probably pick Bama just because it's Bama. But 7's a lot to cover when one team's playing really good football and the other one's playing not good football. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. If you're not playing well, you're not going to win.
Yeah, I mean, like Ole Miss has proven that they can go out and win a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they can win a clutch game. Like that was huge what they did against Tulane. I mean, it was tough to say that this big SEC school has had a lot of trouble putting away a Tulane team, but Tulane's been good. Tulane,
they beat USC last year.
Yeah, they beat USC last year, and I really think that Ole Miss needed that being an out-of-conference game to start SEC play.
Yeah.
And so I really think that Bama is going to have a tough time.
Yeah, honestly, I would probably bet your parlay. Like all 4 legs, I like them all. So I'm with you. I love to argue and tell people when they're wrong. However, I don't necessarily think I can do that this time with you. Let me pull up my parlay. Let me hope it's saved because I didn't actually put money on it yet, if I even do. But here we go. My 4-leg parlay. I'm going to do my 2 NFL first as well. However, unlike you, I picked 4 underdogs.
Ooh, it's a dogs parlay.
This is a dogs parlay. So first game I picked is the Los Angeles Chargers plus 1.5 versus the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, it's a
Minnesota's
coin flip
0-2. Chargers are 0-2. One of them's gonna get a win this year. And for me, the Chargers have looked better in their losses than the Vikings have, in my opinion. The Vikings lost to the Bucks and to the Eagles, who are both undefeated. The Chargers lost to the Titans and the Dolphins. Titans obviously lost to the Saints week 1. However, the Dolphins are kind of looking like almost like the powerhouse of the NFL right now.
Don't say that.
Come on. No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say that because I know how much you think they're not making the playoffs. But I think for me, that game is going to be another shootout game. Both teams will probably score over 30 points.
Oh, yeah. They're both going to have like 400 yards passing.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun game to watch, I'm sure. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Chargers. For me, reason I take the Chargers is in games like this that I think are going to be really high scoring, it's really about what defense can make a stop, and I think I trust the Chargers defense more than I trust the Vikings defense. And when it's a plus 1.5 versus a minus 1.5, you kind of just pick the spread because it's better odds than the money line sometimes. So I'll go ahead and take the Chargers plus 1.5. And plus, you can still lose by 1 in my bet hits. So we'll see. But yeah, I'll take the Chargers there over the Vikings.
Yeah, I think that's the most coin flip game of the week. Like I was looking to make my parlay and I was about to pick the Vikings minus 1.5 because I think that it can happen either way.
Yeah, it really is a toss-up.
It's going to be a great game, like you're saying. It's going to be an entertaining game. Neither defense is elite. You have a better pass rush out of the Chargers, better safety at the Chargers, so you might as well.
Might as well.
But Cameron Bynum's had a year, by the way.
He has been really good. That's a good pull. He's been pretty good. My next piece of the parlay is the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 2.5 versus the Las Vegas Raiders. For that, I thought that one was pretty easy. Steelers won last night against. I know the Browns. They lost Nick Chubb early on, but Browns are still a really good team. That defense is great. But if you watch the Steelers defense last night, I don't think they'll have a problem stopping an inconsistent Raiders offense who struggled mightily against the Bills. And Steelers and Bills defense are on the same tier.
Dud, if you're still watching, how do you feel about the Steelers defense?
Yeah. Dud, tell us how you feel about the Steelers defense, please. I'd love to hear your opinion. Yeah, please. So, yeah, I'm taking the Steelers plus 2.5 against the Raiders. I think they'll win the game straight out. But, again, it's kind of like one of them Saints things where even if you can score enough points in our defense, chances are low you can separate the game enough to cover the spread.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I do think that the Steelers defense has showed some weakness in the run game, so I am liking what we're going to talk about next.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get there when we get there. But yeah.
My third game, we're going into the college ranks here. I've got UCLA plus 4.5 on Utah. Now,
yeah, it's a dog.
Here's my thing. While both teams are undefeated, Utah hasn't looked super convincing yet.
So hear me out.
Okay, I know what you're going to say. I know exactly what you're going to say.
If
I don't want to hear
Florida
it.
can beat Tennessee that bad, and Utah made us think that Florida's the worst team in college football. Does that mean Utah is the best team in college football?
No, it doesn't, because Utah almost lost to Baylor, who almost lost to Long Island.
This is also true.
So I don't trust. Like, to me, and what Utah win 24-11 against Florida, like something like that.
Yeah.
To me, I haven't seen anything from Utah that proves to me that they're like cream of the crop yet.
I mean, I don't think that Utah is very good.
And for me, I think this is going to be the first time all season they're playing a ranked team, so this will be their real big first challenge. UCLA's also undefeated, and they've been playing some really good ball, man. I mean, the lowest point differential for them so far is 14 points against Coastal Carolina. Beat San Diego State by 25. Beat NC Central last week by 52. So UCLA's been playing some ball. Utah's been winning as well. 2 undefeated teams, ranked matchup this weekend. I think 4.5 is just too many points for me. I think it will be decided by a field goal. So if it's decided by a field goal, I'll take the UCLA side.
Yeah, I kind of stayed away from the prove it games and with my bets, and I really do think that that's a prove it game because we haven't seen much from UCLA, and I didn't include LSU because it was a prove it game.
Yeah.
And this week is the week of the prove it, and
I have the second prove it game as my other parlay hit.
And so we talked about we're in a group message with one of our friends who's asking us to pick college football games, and this every other week it was just like, hey, here's our guys.
Yeah.
And then this week it's just like, oh my God,
Byron,
every game is tough.
So Mustang sent in his picks first. And I looked at his picks, and I was like, I disagree with 7 of those. And then I thought about
10.
it. I know, and I looked at it, and I thought about it, and I was like, no, I can see where he's coming from. The fact that you can have 7 different opinions on 10 different games, insane. Which leads me into my last game. That is also on that list, and it is the matchup of the weekend. It's where College Game Day is going to be. It's going to be South Bend, Indiana, where we're going to see Notre Dame take on Ohio State. And
this
right
is a
now,
prove game for both of them.
Oh, absolutely, because they're both Ohio State's we don't have C.J. Stroud, who we've had for the past 3 years. Is Kyle McCord gonna take us where we need to be?
I didn't even know his name.
Well, what can I say? I'm him. Is McCord gonna take us where we need to be? Are we gonna stay playoff contenders, or do we fall apart against big teams? And this Notre Dame team has been a big team this year.
Yeah.
Been very, very good at every facet of the game. Sam Hartman has been great for them coming from Wake Forest. Marcus Freeman has been coaching his butt off. And also they lost Tommy Rees, which seems to have helped because Tommy Rees might be really bad at his job. So for me, I am taking a team who I have always put down, a school who I've never talked good about ever, and I think Notre Dame is going to cover the spread, if not beat Ohio State this weekend.
So glad you didn't tell me. What's the spread?
+3.
+3.
Notre Dame +3 is what I have against Ohio State. If anybody knows anything about me, I have never, ever praised Notre Dame in anything that they've ever done. Anything that's ever come out of Notre Dame, I've put it down.
Ian Book.
Brian Kelly. Manti Te'o. Huh? I did like Foskey, actually. I did like Isaiah Foskey. But no, I've never been a Notre Dame guy. I've always thought that they were a fake program. Every year they would go somewhere, everybody would talk them up, and then they'd lose. And I'm like, this is just dumb. I hate it. But I think this year might be different. They feel like a different team this year with their quarterback and coach combo. So I'm going to take Notre Dame to cover the spread against Ohio State this weekend. Kyle McCord hasn't proven it to me yet. Sam Hartman has. I'm going quarterback versus quarterback. Give me Notre Dame.
Wow. I mean, I think, it's a prove it game. That's one of those 50-50s. Yeah, that's sort of the same text I just got.
Soundman
We're not going to show that.
No, Soundman has just sent us an updated picture of the Nick Chubb injury.
It's side by side with his
Georgia injury. And,
it's
tough.
It's... I believe the Georgia injury, he had dislocated knee,
and then torn
all
MCL.
4.
No, it wasn't the ACL. It was everything but the ACL. Because the ACL is above the knee, and it was a below the knee injury.
I'm pretty sure he did all 4
MCL, meniscus, LCL, and PCL. Last night might have been from mid hammy to mid shin. Everything is gone.
Yeah, it was tough.
But
it was a tough watch.
That's tough. But that's my parlay. Can you get the final odds on your parlay just to give the people a look into what we got? So, again, my 4 legs, the plus spreads of the Chargers, the Steelers, UCLA, and Notre Dame. That's a 4-leg parlay for a plus 11.95 on FanDuel.
Mine keeps changing. Mine's Saints +2, Ole Miss +7, Florida State -2.5, and the Eagles -5.5, and you can get that for plus 12.89.
Ooh, a little bit better odds on your parlay. But the way we're going to close out this show is
the
a
most
great,
passionate thing.
It is a
done in
great
while.
time. And we timed this out perfectly too. I mean, we couldn't have done this any better if we tried. We are going to give our Fantasy 5, where we talk about fantasy football for 5 or more minutes. Hopefully 5, probably more. But we love fantasy football. We're going to talk about our league of record this year. Last year, we talked about our league of record a lot every time me and Mustang were on, because we're in the same league. Mustang's in this league. And then
We're cool.
Soundman's in this league.
Soundman's in this league.
Rhythm and Blues.
Dangerous Dut's in this
Dangerous
league.
Dut is in this league. Dangerous Dut. Why aren't you talking, brother?
Some people might call him Dainty Dut.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, why is it only showing up on the YouTube
I don't know.
chat?
I knew
That's
something.
fine.
He hates the Steelers defense, and then he said y'all should both pick Ohio State and Notre Dame game too. I'm picking Notre Dame.
I have no opinion. I have not watched any Ohio State or Notre Dame this year.
I've watched every Notre Dame game, and they've been dominating.
Wow.
So that's how I feel.
Coming from you to watch every Notre Dame game this year.
What can I say? I'm a man of many teams. But yeah, Fantasy 5. Talk about fantasy football for 5 or more minutes. Here we are, the Rhythm and Blues. Rebo Hustle, tell them how we're sitting for this season.
Currently, we're 1-1. A tough loss last night.
Oh.
We needed a couple more points from Miles Sanders, but he didn't even play the last 2 minutes.
That's why we were so interested in a Carolina Panthers touchdown. We needed a Miles Sanders touchdown.
Oh yeah, we did.
And had he scored one, we would have won. Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. He had the Browns defense. Let's see.
We lost by, 7 points?
Yeah.
So if he scores a touchdown, considering yards, or if it was a reception or something,
6.4.
we would have won had he scored a touchdown. Hurts.
Even that last drive, we would have won.
Yep.
But so we got Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs as our starting running backs.
Yep.
I do like Josh Jacobs this week against the Steelers defense, just because that was the one thing that the Browns were able to continue to do even after Nick Chubb
Yeah,
left.
I mean, Jerome Ford had like that 75-yard scamper for a touchdown.
Yeah, that he cut all the way back.
I mean, he probably ran 140 yards in one play.
Our quarterback room is rotating. With
Some would say.
Jared Goff and Geno Smith. I mean, we thought Geno was going to be a whole lot better, but the Seahawks have seemed to stumble in their tracks.
Hey, we knew Jared Goff was going to be great, though. We knew that.
Oh, we knew it.
We knew it. That's why we took him in like the second to last round. Wide receivers, we've got, some names. A.J. Brown and Keenan Allen.
Yeah. One of them is just a name right now.
One of them is only a name. He has not played anything. So, that hasn't been great. Thank you. Thank you, Papa Lot. Indeed. He played against Sanders last night. He did just fine. I bet. I bet he did. I bet he did, Mr. Paul. Thank you very much for rubbing it in our faces. But yeah, A.J. Brown has not been living up to his name so far. Keenan Allen, though, had a great week this week.
Oh, yeah. I think he was top performer at wide receiver this week.
I believe he was. And then
At least on Sleeper.
Yeah, he was on Sleeper. I know that for sure. And then tight end. We've got tight end 1 on the season. No, we don't. That's a different league. In my brain, I was thinking of Sleeper again. I'm so sorry. We've got another...
We got a name.
We've got another name in George Kittle, a guy who hasn't necessarily been great. And then defense and kicker.
They're just Eagles.
The Eagles. We're heavily invested in the Eagles this year. A.J. Brown, Eagles defense, Jake Elliott.
Now, the Eagles defense keeps getting our hopes up. He scores a defense touchdown week 1, gets three fumble recoveries.
In the first half, I think.
Yeah, and then they start giving up points in the second half. It's great.
Every time.
But I do think Kittle is going to have a bigger impact this week because Brandon Ayuk's out for the whole game. But really, we just haven't seen many dump downs from the 49ers offense. It's either a Christian McCaffrey 30-yard run or I think Debo caught like 3 40-yard passes.
Debo had a huge week. Brandon Ayuk had a huge week 1. Christian McCaffrey's had huge weeks both weeks. I think that it's the time for George Kittle.
Yeah.
Debo had one. Brandon Ayuk had one. It's time for George Kittle to have one. Hopefully it'll be this week on Thursday Night Football when they take on the New York Football Giants, who we have not seen been able to cover anybody yet.
One can pray.
One can pray. I think for me, our biggest pick and one that we're very happy with, but also very confused with, is our number 1 player off the bench, Jordan Addison.
Yeah, we've been accused of having a bench mob. Addison scored a touchdown every week. I just feel like the names of A.J. Brown, we drafted him in the 2nd round. I still need him to...
It's hard.
I need one more week. Like, you can't just give up on a 2nd round pick on week 3.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Jordan Addison scores another touchdown this week and AJ doesn't get as many targets as we believe he should, there's an argument, and I honestly think it's real because even though the Vikings aren't winning games, they're throwing the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Addison scoring 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks is great, and I love seeing that he's getting points because we have him. But it's hard to look at him and A.J. Brown and be like, yes, we should start A.J. Brown when you just look at the numbers. Because part of you wants to take the name out of it and be like, how do I win? I don't care who's winning for me as long as I win. That's what I care about. But also, you can't look at A.J. Brown and be like, yeah, he's going to put up 6.9 every week. Like, that's not A.J. Brown.
Like, he's going to, our luck, we're going to put him on the bench. He's going to score 46.
Yes, he's going to have 11 receptions for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns one week. And we are going to be so mad about it because that's what happens. But that being said, I still feel good about our team. Like, I'm not mad at our team. I think our team can definitely, it can beat some other teams in the league for sure. I mean, we're 1-1.
Yeah, we
week
beat
1
the
looked
delicate
great.
little dut in the first week.
Yeah, the daintiest dut.
The daintiest. And then we played a close game against Sean, and so I feel like we've got a chance to.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what,
at least make the playoffs.
No matter what, we're better than Danny.
Oh, dude.
Terrible team.
At least we didn't make a
Danny.
trade like Paul did. That was tough.
Trading Jerome Ford for Taysom Hill straight up.
Oh, God. When
What
you
are we
love a
doing?
saint, you love a saint.
I guess, but just to go over some other people in this league, the daintiest dut loses. He's 0-2. Soundman is 1-1.
Yeah, he looked like he was going to go 0-2, but
after
the
beating the
Steelers
daintiest
defense
dut by
went off.
0.8 because of the Steelers defense, and then unfortunately, Mustang is also 0-2, and his season is over because he had Nick Chubb.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So he's not happy right now. However, fantasy football wise, I feel good about our league record. We'll keep everybody updated every week on how that team is doing. The part of the fantasy 5 that we want to talk about is somebody they may want to pick up, somebody they may want to get rid of. I'll go first. Give you some time to think. A guy you should obviously pick up if he's still out there. Chances are low he's still out there, but he might just be because he was out there for 3 of my leagues, and I put in a waiver claim on all of them. Obviously, Kyron Williams, running back for the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, if you scored 37 points 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I mean, he might be out there. He might not, just because people might not know what to think after week 1.
I think Sleeper says that he's rostered in 47% of Sleeper leagues. So
so I mean, if you're on Sleeper, he's probably out there for more than half. ESPN, I think he's rostered in 60-something% of leagues, so chances are he's still out there as well.
Yeah.
So if you see Kyron Williams, put in all of your fab for him. Probably if you use a fab system because he is the number 1 running back for the Rams. He has been great 2 weeks in a row, and they have talked about trading Cam Akers, which means his only challenge. Thanks, Dut. His only challenge for snacks is going to come from Ronnie Rivers and Zach Evans. So I am very trusting in Kyron Williams right now. If he's out there on your waivers, go ahead and pick him up. Same thing goes for Jerome Ford. With Nick Chubb going out, you got to pick up his backup. I wouldn't go as in on him as I am on Kyron Williams, but definitely make the move if you can. Yep. So, see, look at that. They agree.
If you go 2 running backs, I'll go 2 wide receivers.
Okay.
You definitely need the other Ram of note.
There's no. If he's still out there,
there's no way. But
if he's still out there, you put in $50 on Kyron Williams, you put in $50 on Puka Nacua, and you win your league.
But somebody I think is almost out there in everybody's league. Wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, Josh Reynolds.
Yes,
I think that he's like he's had so many targets. Also, we're looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown having maybe a turf toe problem. And so you're going to see more targets to Josh Reynolds. He had 2 great weeks. I think he scored a touchdown last week, but he didn't the first week. But I think he scored more points the first week.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I remember correctly, his stats were something like 5 to 6 catches both weeks and then 70 to 80 yards both weeks.
Yeah, I think it's 7 to 10 targets both weeks. So like,
yeah.
If you're getting that kind of target share, he needs to be on a roster.
Yeah, if the Lions are throwing the ball 30 to 35 times this game and Josh Reynolds is getting a third of those targets, yeah, you're going for him. A fourth to a third of those targets. I'd like Dutt's point here as well. A guy who's sitting on my team in our Dynasty League and Sleeper. I took him, I believe, in the 4th round of our Dynasty draft, so I got him right towards the end of the draft. Tank Dell, wide receiver for the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud threw for 380 yards this past week.
Oh, yeah, Nico Collins had a week
half
too.
of those went to Nico Collins, and the other half went to Tank Dell. I think both of those receivers are 2 receivers you can look at for Houston as being waiver wire pickups, and then a spot flex here and there when you have an injury, because injuries do seem to be running wild this year, as well as once bye weeks come up. Just stash those guys on your bench. Tank Dell could definitely take a step forward throughout the season, and I believe Nico Collins is going to be a solid contributor.
And with Saquon being out for the next 3 weeks, a lot of people are turning to Matt Breida. I don't think that's the guy. I believe his last name's Brightwell, but I'm not sure what his...
Gary Brightwell.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the guy in New York. They have clearly just started passing the ball over and over again.
Yeah, I steer... with Saquon going down, I would steer away from every New York Giant.
Yeah, I wouldn't want... But if you're in a situation that the 2 guys we mentioned so far aren't there and you have to play a guy this week, I think you would want to consider Brightwell over Breida.
I think the reason we're talking about running back so much is just because there's so many injuries at running back. And then just one more name I want to mention is Jaylen Warren. Last night, Steelers were playing the Browns. Watched the game. Jaylen Warren seemed to be the more explosive player, as well as the bigger pass catcher from that Steelers offense, which I think is going to come into play. So if he's out there, go ahead and get Jaylen Warren if you can, and then Zach Moss from the Colts.
I just didn't think that he was out there anymore.
Yeah, 98% snap count from the Colts this past week. I think the only time he did, I think the one snap he didn't play was a 5-wide.
Yeah.
So
I think
Zach Moss is going to be out there.
Yeah, and
he proved he deserves to be the number 1. So as long as Jonathan Taylor's not playing, Zach Moss is going to be the guy.
It's definitely through week 4, so you got at least 2 more weeks of him. And then the other guy got hurt, right?
Deion Jackson.
No.
Hull. Oh, Evan Hull.
So 3 people got hurt, and Zach Moss comes out and scores I think 26 points in non-PPR, 38 in PPR, something like that.
Yeah, like he had a great game for sure. So that's kind of what we're looking at for fantasy football. Obviously, we'll keep you updated and we'll keep talking about fantasy because it's something we really enjoy. We do a lot of. We both play in multiple leagues together as well as a couple separate. So.
Guys to get rid of. I don't know if there's anybody that that has been so atrocious that I'd be like, get off my roster week 4.
No, there's nobody necessarily out there that you have to like immediately get rid of, but there are some guys you have to be concerned with, I think. For me, guys like Darren Waller, you're gonna have to be concerned with based on what the Giants scheme now looks like with Saquon out. I think that leaves more room for Darren Waller to be targeted, but also leaves more room for the defense to cover Darren Waller. And he's also dealing with a hamstring. Not great. For me, I also don't love the Broncos offense. As much as we thought Sean Payton was going to change things, and the Broncos scored 35 points this week, all of their points came from Brandon Johnson and Marvin Mims. That's not sustainable. Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton didn't get many points. Javonte Williams in a 35-point game scored less than 10 fantasy points.
I think Marvin Mims had 3 catches for 150 yards and a touchdown.
Correct.
Like that. Like only 4 targets, and I think he only played 10 snaps.
Yeah, he barely played any, but when he did play, he got touchdowns. So for me, I'm trying to steer clear of those guys. I wouldn't say trade anybody away right now, just because it's week 2. You don't know where you're sitting at. But those are some guys I would try to like. If you have another option, go ahead and pivot.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody that you would waste a top 7 round pick on, and that just needs to be off your roster right now is what I'm saying. Oh yeah,
I mean,
2 for 113 and a touchdown.
Yeah, he had
That's
a great
ridiculous.
yeah, like and that's not going to happen every week. Like you have to know that. So that's kind of where we're at. Any last thoughts for our OTD folks today?
No, we covered a lot of bases. This is one of the most efficient episodes we've had in a while.
Yeah, it's because we didn't have
We went to the OG OTD.
the OG OTD. Turned out to be very efficient today, and I think we covered run back the format indeed. I think we did a great job. Not to brag, but we talked about Louisiana sports, which we know everybody out there loves. Our Louisiana teams and LSU and the Saints. Covered some national bases, threw some sports betting and some fantasy in there just to be fun about it. So I had a good time. I think
the format's just perfect for football season.
Yeah, I mean, this is football season's where we do our best work for sure, and I'm really excited about it. Football's in full gear, and we're loving every second of it. So I'm so glad to be back. We should be doing once a week here on out. I know we were off for a few weeks, and it's been tough trying to get the schedule down, and with technical difficulties, with the computer not working and everything, it's just been a little hectic. But we should be back from here on out doing this format, doing this setup, and really getting some content out there. So I'm really excited. In case you haven't yet, make sure to follow us on Twitter. Off the Dome. What's our Twitter? Off the _Dome Pod on Twitter. Off the _Dome Pod. Go on our Facebook. We have a new Facebook page. Off the Dome Sports Podcast. It's our gold logo. You should know it. And then speaking about knowing, you got to be in the know. You got to follow the Know on Twitter. You've got to go on the Know's Facebook page and follow everything we're doing over there. So glad to be partnering with them. So glad that we've been with them for a little bit now, and some really cool stuff coming from that network. There's so many good people over there, and it's not just us. It's other podcasts. It's other writers and Saints contributors, Pelicans contributors. So happy to be a part of that. So really excited for the future of OTD and the future of the network.
Amen.
Thank you, Rebo Hustle, for coming on today.
Probably see a lot more of me.
Probably see a lot more of you. Probably filling in for Mustang quite a bit since he's gotten his new job. Glad to see Dutt in the comments. Glad to see Papa Lot in the comments. Hopefully the comments continue to grow. Hopefully the viewers continue to grow, and we keep on having fun with the OTD Sports Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to be in the know. And I have been Redfish.
I'm still Rebo Hustle.
And we will see you next time.